Cheers, Ben, and thank you for spilling that floater on my new white sneakers.
Sorry.
We're coming to you live from Huntington Beach, future-proof. Today's show of Animal Spirits is sponsored by our good friends, our dear friends at Y Charts. Ben, what do we use Y Charts for?
Charting, historical data, economic data releases. They shade in the recessions for us on their charts.
Yep, they do that.
Scenario analysis, performance reporting.
We can't do our jobs without it. That's just the bottom line. And if you want to do your job better, go to Y Charts, tell them Animal Spirits sent you. First-time users, 20% off. That's a fifth. 20% off.
We got to see the whole Y Charts team here this week at the festival.
He ain't lying. Animalspirits.com. Let's, nope. All right, we're done. You cut that last part.
Animalspirits.com. It's not even a thing. All right.
One more time, give it up. Here it comes. Your two favorites, Ben Carlson and Michael Batnick. Give me that roar.
Rate cut. Rate cut. Who's excited for the rate cut? You okay? Guys, this is Ben's flu game. I have had multiple flu games on the podcast. What is that?
Sure.
This is Ben's first time playing through an injury. He can't even get, what happened to you?
I hurt my knee. I'm okay. Don't worry about it.
No. He's a modest man, a man of few words. Ben was going for a 5K this morning just to, get loose. He got pierced. Tell the story. Why am I telling your story? What happened?
I jumped into an agave plant on accident. I had blood streaming down my leg. My whole leg went numb. I'm going to sue someone.
So Ben went out to the intrawebs, and what did you Google?
30 people were walking by, and I'm limping, and there's blood everywhere. And I was just mad I couldn't get my workout in.
It turns out, I don't know why Ben won't tell you the story, the full story. It turns out that these agave plants are poisonous, and Ben's leg has been numb all day. So he's fighting through this. Let's hear it for Ben. All right. So before we get started, we've got to thank our friends at Y Charts. I go over the top. At least I try to every week explaining what they do for me. But it is true. It's not just words. I really do rely on Y Charts for everything. Everything and everything. So Y Charts, Sean, Caleb, Rushi, Kara, the whole team, thank you very much for everything.
They have a tent right over there.
Where?
Go see them. It's that way.
It's that way, okay. All right, so somebody reminded me that last year, Ben spilled one of these drinks on my new sneakers. Do you remember that?
Duncan spilled it.
It was Duncan?
Yes, Duncan brought him out and spilled it all over you, all over the machines. He was fixing the mics and he spilled it.
Well, so yesterday, Ben and I were enjoying a Miami Vice poolside, and sure enough, the brown floater, all over my new white sneakers.
And then Michael threw his shoe in the pool.
You guys having fun? Can we get some energy? Anybody? All right, so we're going to do something a little bit different today for the live show. We spend a lot of time talking about markets and equal weight and CABA and this factor. Who gives a shit, right? We're here to have fun. This is not the time or the place for market talk, okay? We're in a bull market. Everything's copacetic. No, we don't need to go there. I got an email a couple of weeks ago. Hey, Mike, look at this. Look at this. Look at us.
The funny thing is that he wouldn't let me put my arms around him, so I had to hold it back like an idiot. And it's not very comfortable.
Okay. Good times. All right, so I got an email. Michael, you got kicked out of college twice, and then you got the CFA charter holder. I heard that was really hard. How did you do that? How did you get to Ritholtz Wealth Management? And I'm like, I've told this story a million times, but I think I underappreciated the fact that not everybody has been listening for 5 years, or when did we start the podcast? 2017, so it's not 5 years, it's 7 years. And our audience has grown, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard our story, our origin story. Certainly, Dave, Adam, and Clint in the front row, and I don't know your name, but I love the shirt, have heard this story before, so it might be repetitive for them. But for a lot of you who are unfamiliar with our origin story, how Ben and I got to where we are. We're going to take you through it. So that'll take up most of the time. And then, you know what? No teasers. Let's just get into it. So, Ben, you had a much more traditional path to this industry than I did. You were not kicked out once or twice, right? You graduated on time?
4.5 years.
Oh, really? Oh, the truth comes out. What happened?
That's on time. I wasn't ready to find a job yet.
Okay. All right, so I don't know the story. So how did you get into the industry?
My only preparation, I remember talking to my guidance counselor in college, and they're kind of like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to work at a cool firm with cool people. And they're like, oh, great idea, dude. What do you want to do? And I'm a senior. I have no idea. I have no clue. So I went to Philadelphia and did an internship, and I worked for an investment bank and an analyst, and the guy tells me, yeah, in my first 12 months here, I had 3 days off. And, I'm going out every night with my friends to the bars, and I said, well, that's not for me. And I worked in the markets and got to know them a little bit, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was not employable at all. I did better than you in school. I was a 3.2 kind of guy.
Dude, my first 2 semesters did not equal a 3.2.
Michael shared his transcripts on Animal Spirits a couple weeks ago, and it was like a 1.3.
1.4, and then
and
a
he's
1.1.
like, actually not that bad. And I'm like, 1.4? I don't know what you need to do.
I got a D+ in Intro to Microeconomics.
Yeah, you're not getting hired by the Fed. So I was one of those people. I say all the young people I talk to these days in college, they're so much more informed than I was back then. And I was just so naive that I just thought, I'm just going to find a good job. And I was not employable at all. And I couldn't find a job. I tried to get hired into banking.
Wait, what year was this? 1990?
2005.
Okay.
I graduated school.
Wait, why were you not employable?
Because I didn't know anything. I knew nothing. I didn't do anything in school. I didn't read one book. I coasted on common sense and street smarts, I guess.
Ben was an athlete. For those of you who haven't seen the clip, Ben's stats were like Christian McCaffrey in high school. It almost looked fake. You were quite a... Ben was a running back.
Yeah, it didn't translate into college, though. I was too focused on extracurriculars. And so I quit football after a couple of years, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I remember all these people telling me, I'm going to go into investment banking, I'm going to be this. And I interviewed at a few banks, and they all wanted me to be in a sales role. And
You're not a salesman.
And I'm not
no offense.
No, it's true. And so I was dating my now wife, and she went back to postgraduate school, and I moved across the state to take a job because it's the only one I could find as an analyst. And I was working in institutional consulting for pensions and endowments, and I couldn't have told you back then what one of those was. And I learned more in my first 3 years in the job than I did in all of college. And stuff that I still hold on to this day. My boss then, it was a small firm, and he taught about asset allocation and risk profile and time horizon. And
were you getting paid well?
No, not at all. I'm like $30,000 out of school. All my friends were making way more money than me. They had way cooler jobs.
You are one pathetic loser.
Yeah, you want to work 40 hours a week. So I didn't know but that was a great, I think for young people, it's kind of like learning versus earning. Some people could do both, I guess, but I was learning. And I lived in the opposite side of the state from my wife, and I would work, I'd get home, I would work out, and then I would read for like 3 hours every night. And that was like my education into understanding, because I realized immediately, I know nothing that these people are talking. We were meeting with JP Morgan and Merrill Lynch and all these firms and these asset managers. I knew nothing. And it was a lot harder back then. Today, like I said, kids are more informed, but they have more areas to access that information.
So what was your job?
I was I started out as a performance analyst. I was literally calculating performance by hand. That's why I'm such a good Excel person. When I say proficient on my resume in Excel, I was proficient. And so I was like a performance analyst, but I learned and I remember the first time my boss, he would write a quarterly letter to every one of his clients.
Wait, who were the clients? Foundations mostly?
It was hospitals and insurance companies and some family offices. And these hospitals would all have 6 different accounts. It was a pension and an endowment and a foundation and liability for malpractice. And each one of them had their own investment policy statement. It had its own asset allocation. It had its own, different setup. And it was great. And a lot of these would come with all the money in one pile. And our boss would go, no, that doesn't make any sense. Each of these needs its own. It has its own goals, so it should have its own plan. And I learned and he would document the investment policy statement, and like the stuff that he taught me back then, I'm still I still kind of hold on to this day. So I learned so much from this guy. And I remember he would write a quarterly letter to these people, and it would be, a page and a half. And he told me, he's like, Ben, you'll know you've made it when you can actually write one of these. And I knew nothing, so I couldn't have back then. And that was kind of the goal. Like, I need to, shore up the communication skills.
So is this the company that you were at until you joined us?
No, so I did that for 3 years. It was kind of, before I even started, it was like, I'm going to train you for 3 years, then I'm going to kick you out and go do something else, which is perfect because I learned. My wife and I got married. I wanted to find a job in Chicago or Grand Rapids, moved back to Grand Rapids because that's where my wife found a job. And then for 10 years, I worked for a $1 billion endowment fund because I was the only person in West Michigan who had any experience in that space. And learned a lot about that. It was like a brand new pile of capital. These billionaires in West Michigan had passed away within a year of each other and left $1 billion for this medical research institute. And they said, the endowment is going to fund us.
Who was the family? Can you share?
Yeah, it was the Van Andel family. They own one of the owners of Amway. Not a pyramid scheme.
No, it's a Ponzi.
And so it was a really good learning experience there too. And I got exposed to all these different areas of the markets. We were investing in private equity and venture capital and hedge funds and meeting with money managers all the time. They would come to us and pitch us. I was constantly taking pitch meetings. And so it was a really good experience. But after 10 years or so, I realized like I don't want to just work for this one client.
Wait, before we get to you getting sick of it, what was it like for you during the GFC? Like, what were you doing?
I took the job in July 2007, which is right when some of those credit funds were blowing up. And studying a little bit of market history, but not knowing very much, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Luckily, our fund was sitting on a huge cash pile. And so we slowly but surely put it to work. But
you were timing the market.
But I got this job in July 2007, and then the next 2 years was just like, walking through flames, basically. And that still, I think, is to me, like, going through that experience, like, shaped so many of my views today. And for some people, I think they got shaped in the wrong way. To me, I'm reading Warren Buffett books, and I'm thinking, buy when there's blood in the streets, and everyone else is, like, in the fetal position going, no, this is the end of the world. I remember getting a call from one of our hedge fund managers saying, it was September. It was a Friday. I still remember to this day. Go to the ATM, get as much cash as you can out of the ATM right now, because on Monday the banks might not open. It was a crazy, and for me, being the young guy on the team, I thought it was amazing. Because I'm thinking, this is great. I'm never going to buy stock prices lower than I am today. The stock market was down 60% almost, right?
So you did that, but for like 6 more years you were there.
Yeah, I worked that job for 10 years, and so...
Did you graduate into a higher role, or...? Yeah,
so I started taking on more responsibilities, and I was beating my head against the wall, and Josh Brown, I started reading The Reform Broker. Actually, I think I started reading Doug Cass and Todd Harrison at the Street. And that led me to read Barry, and that led me to read Josh. And so I think probably 2011, 2012, I started getting into financial blogs, not really knowing what it was. And I'm seeing Josh and Barry are posting every day. And I'm reading these guys, and I'm thinking, oh, okay. I'm on the same wavelength as these guys. They're in a different place than me or area, but the way that they're talking and speaking, their values, that resonates with me. And Josh wrote a piece about hedge funds, and I wrote him this really long email. Out of the blue.
I remember that because I was there. It was called Confession, right?
So
what was the title of the blog post?
So I wrote Josh an email, and he said, great. He wrote me back awesome. Whatever you just sent me there, write it in a blog, and if it's good, I'll post it on my blog. And so for 10 days, I worked on this thing. I had to get it perfect. I sent it to my brother and proofread it, and I sent it to Josh, and I said, you can't post my name on this because I have a job, and they'll fire me. And they posted this Josh posted an anonymous post from me, and it kind of blew up a little bit. Everyone was reading it, and I felt like Larry David in Curb, where he puts his anonymous donation on the wing, shit.
So it was Confessions of an Institutional Allocator, is that right?
Yeah, and I written my blog for about, 6 or 8 months at that point. No one was reading it, and Josh said, this is a great piece, man. A lot of people are reading it. And so I said, oh, by the way, I write at this blog, check it out. And that was my introduction into the blogging world, and Josh, was reading it and sharing it a little bit on his Linkfest. Then Tadas picked it up at Normal Returns, and that was kind of how I got discovered a little bit.
How did we meet?
I was thinking about this. You started blogging. I don't remember. One of us sent a DM to the other one.
I definitely slid into your DMs.
I think you.
Ben would never.
I think you slid into my DMs and you said, "Hey, I like your stuff." I like your stuff, and
I like your style. And Ben said, I like your moves.
we started talking about you were like, what are your thoughts on like asset allocation? And
What? That's not true.
You guys were like overhauling your portfolios a little bit, and you said,
That's true.
And you said, I want to talk to you about this, and that's how. And I would travel to New York 2 or 3 times a year, meeting with managers or conferences, and that was around the time that Phil Perlman was putting together that Yahoo Finance contributors thing.
That ended well.
Yeah, but it was a great start. So I came for a conference, and Phil said, "All right, I'm gonna put you together." So the 3 of us went to dinner.
You and Phil?
And that's how we met.
Is Phil here? Where's that guy? No? All right, love that guy. And so then what? What year was that? 2013, 14?
Probably 2013, 14.
When did you join us?
I joined in September 2015, so I'm working on 10 years almost, I guess. So I remember one time I told Josh, I'm like, I enjoy the job I'm doing. I could probably stay there for the rest of my career and it'd be like a safe path for me. And you guys, I remember you started the firm, you guys made all the announcements, and I said, oh, that's the kind of firm I'd want to work with. There's no remote work then, really. And so one of these times I'm talking to Josh, and I'm kind of complaining as I always did. I just wasn't happy in what I was doing. And Josh said, what do you want to do, man? He finally cut through it and stopped complaining. What do you want to do? And I told him, I just want to work with other clients. I want to work with small institutions. I want to work with individuals. I want to do something else. And he said, do that for us. And I said, really? I said, yeah. And I remember talking to Barry, and Barry said, all right, here's the schools in Manhattan. You'll move here. And our daughter was 1 year old. My wife's like, yeah, okay, buddy. We're going to move from Grand Rapids to New York. Okay. And that never got off the ground. And I came out there one time, and I think I said to you, we're at some bar for a wisdom tree event or something. And I said, hey, man, listen, I can't move to New York. It's not going to work. Why can't I just stay in Grand Rapids? How many clients do we even have in New York? And you were like, oh, yeah, we get all of our clients from the internet. Why do you need to be here physically? And that was the start of Ritholtz as a remote work destination.
Do you remember your earliest experience in working with us? It's been a long time. I don't really remember.
I came to New York to announce, hey, Ben is going to join Ritholtz. So it was you, Josh, Chris, Barry, Patrick, and Erica. So I was number 7. Not too far behind me. Remember Joey and Dan and Alex joined a few months later. Bill.
Yeah.
So I go to New York, and Josh said, I'm going to get you on CNBC. We're going to announce you're going to work for us. We had the whole push. And I show up there, and we go out to eat at remember the favorite little Mexican place we used to go to?
Salvation Taco.
That was it. Barry gets up to give a speech, welcoming, glad to have Ben here.
A speech to who? Who was there? Me and Chris?
Literally, like I said, there was 5 of us. And Barry lays out at that meal, 6 or 7 of us. Barry says, we're building the infrastructure for $1 billion firm. We had $140 million in assets when I joined.
You're going to report directly to David Rosenberg.
And Barry says, I mean, listen, we have to be $1 billion firm because we can't even afford Ben's salary. And I'm like, what?
So Ben's salary was a lot higher than mine when we joined him, but I forgive you. It worked out. It's okay.
So when I joined, we were a startup.
Yeah.
And I'm telling my in-laws and my parents and friends, I'm joining this new firm. And, I worked for this prestigious billionaire family in West Michigan, which was seen as you don't leave that kind of thing.
Did you show them a picture of us?
Well, they were like, so you're going to work with these guys that you met on the internet?
With this bald asshole?
and to me, it made total sense. Yes, because this firm is going to, and the funny thing is when Barry's laid out that $1 billion vision, none of us laughed or it just, we kind of course we are.
Yeah.
And we were again very naive.
Do you remember what our AUM was when you joined us?
Yeah, it was 140, I think, wasn't
140.
it? 140, 150, probably.
So the market's cooperating. We're I don't know, we're 5-something billion. So worked out okay. Thank you.
Yes, but yeah, so I think surprising the amount of growth we've seen, but also we kind of laid the foundation. And I don't know, I think the greatest thing about it is that people always ask us about the content side of things, but we all started the content thing without any sort of plan.
It was not a master plan.
No, they never had it. Josh was blogging before, Barry was blogging before, I was. Then we all came together and we were like, oh, this actually works. Let's put our foot on the gas pedal and do more and do podcasts and do YouTube. But that was never we sat down and brainstormed and laid it out. It just sort of happened organically.
Yeah. So how Animal Spirits started. So I shared an office with Josh. We were is it subleasing or subletting? I don't know. We were doing one or the other. We were renting space from somebody, and Josh and I were in an office that was like 8x8, and I was on the phone with Ben all day, talking markets, whatever.
We would call each other like 5 times a day.
Yeah. And Barry, myself, and Josh. Sorry, Chris wasn't invited. Barry, myself, and Josh were on Patrick O'Shaughnessy's podcast. And when we were done recording, Patrick said to me, "Why don't you and Ben start a podcast?" I was like, I was self-conscious. I was a newly bald. I just didn't have a lot of self-esteem. And I said, he's like, just don't worry about the world needs. If you want to start a podcast, start a podcast. So I'm eternally grateful for Patrick O'Shaughnessy for telling us to start a podcast. It's been, I don't know, we started in November 2017, so it's been a hell of a run, and we appreciate...
We couldn't figure out a name, remember? And
we had a horrible name. I remember what it was.
Josh is good at naming stuff, so Josh named it. But
I told Josh name, he goes, no. Call it Animal Spirits.
But he also, Josh has a lot of foresight and a lot of things. He said, you guys are going to run out of stuff to talk about in like 2 months.
This was a freezing cold take from Josh. Josh didn't have the balls to tell me, but he told Chris, and Chris told me that you guys are going to run out of things to talk about after one episode. And 7 years in, not bad. I love you. Cheers. All right, so we've got 8 minutes left, and we've got to save some time for, we're doing something different from recommendations. I can't tell my story in 4 minutes, but let's just say this. I was lost. I was wandering the valley, metaphorically homeless, and absolutely no direction to go. And the backstory, whatever, there's places that you could hear that if you want to, if you're curious, but I was really and truly I had nowhere to go. I had no connections. I had like this weird inner confidence that if somebody would just give me a chance, that I had something to offer to the world. But I wasn't able to show display outward confidence. I never had the chutzpah to open doors myself. And so I was just in a bad place. And it was 2011, the spring of 2011, and I had my last job opportunity. And I got an email as I'm sitting down with one of my good friends at the Knicks game. It was game 3 of the 2011 playoffs. I'm a lifelong Knicks fan, and we were in a long, dry spell, worse than my career prospects. And I get an email. This is one of those light bulb moments for me. I get an email as we're sitting down. Sorry, I can't help you. And at this point, I'm just like, all right, so I guess that's it. I guess I gotta get a job at Starbucks or Verizon or whatever. Make minimum wage, and that's it. And whatever. So it was bad. So I get the email. I sit down. My friend's like, what's wrong? I told him. The Knicks are getting blown out, and Mario Chalmers, my hero, hit a 3 in the third quarter to put us down 20 when I said, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. My friend said, where are you going? It's game 3 of the playoffs. I got to go home. I'm not feeling good. I need to figure out what to say to my wife, my girlfriend at the time. I was in a dark place. I got to go. So I get on the train, and I'm on my BlackBerry, and Josh Brown, Josh was my North Star at the time, what he was saying at the Reform Broker blog, that was the truth. And I saw that same thing play out at the insurance company that I was at. And so Josh is tweeting about, I can't remember if it was Kurt Cobain or Marshall Mathers or Eminem's daughter, but he's tweeting about one of them and how old we feel. They're turning 21, and he's doing a tweet thread before there were tweet threads. And I put my phone in my pocket because my phone died as we're pulling into Merrick. Josh and I both grew up in Merrick. I put my phone into my pocket, which is an important little detail, because if my phone didn't die, as soon as we pulled in, I would have been on my phone, whatever, on Twitter. I would have walked right past him. So my phone's dead. It's in my pocket. I walked right past Josh Brown. Holy shit. I froze. I turned around, and I grabbed him. And I said, I don't know what I said, but I introduced myself, and we spent 20 minutes on the platform. It was a Friday night at 11:15. Josh smelled like beer. I said, this is my guy. I love this guy. And we spoke for 20 minutes, and I get downstairs, and my girlfriend is waiting for me, and she said, who was that? And I said, that's my Bethany Frankel. That's Josh Brown. And a couple months later, I saw that he and Barry were hiring, and
was it just Josh and Barry at that point? No one else?
Yeah, it was just Josh. No, Anna was there. There was an assistant, and she She was there briefly, but yeah, Josh saved my life. I am like the ultimate example of that Tim Urban graphic. If you haven't seen it, it's like a bunch of lines, and there's a vertical line that says like your life is here, and then there's a whole bunch of other directions and trees and branches that your life could take. And my life took a lot of twists and turns, and lucky for me, it's better to be down early than down late. And yeah, I could not be more grateful. The fact that I'm here with people I love, serving clients we love, doing what I want to do, it is beyond a blessing, and I could not have gotten any luckier, and I'm just so grateful. And that in however many minutes that was, that's my story. So, all right, clap it up.
No, the tree branch thing, I think about that a lot. I started my blog, and the first 3 months, no one's reading it, so I could have easily shuttered it and walked away and been fine in it. I never would have, it's one of those things. There are the sliding doors moments.
A lot of them. So yeah, it was just started with Chris, Josh, and Barry, September 2013. 4 of us, $60 million in assets, whatever it was. It was not a lot, and here we are, 11 years later. Our 11th anniversary was yesterday. Now we've got 64 incredible people and over $5 billion, and we're just beyond grateful. Okay, enough of that. So we're going to do some recommendations as we always do, but what we thought we would do to spice it up a little bit was, you guys know, if you're a listener, how I feel about watching movies on airplanes. That's my happy space. One of my favorite pastimes is what are you doing over there? You getting ready?
I'm looking at my list.
All right, so what are the movies that you should watch on your flight home? Now, we're going to start by the process of elimination, because, listen, if you're on an airplane, there are some things that you have to consider, like your neighbor, right? So there's some things that you can't do. There's some things you have to consider, like the fact that you're probably drinking. You might even have an edible in your system. You can't read subtitles, right? You just can't do it. So
I put Varsity Blues on my way here, and
that was almost on my list.
remember she does the whipped cream bikini.
Yeah.
I'm an aisle guy.
Well, there's a nipple limit.
And I'm an aisle guy, and
I have a 4 nipple limit on my airplane movies. If there's more than 4 nipples, you can't watch it. That's just so. All right, so no subtitles. So although I love Denis Villeneuve, Incendies is probably the worst airplane movie of all time, because there's 2 rules on flights for me. There's no subtitles and there's no crying. You can't cry in an airplane. You look like an asshole. So I've cried twice on an airplane, when I watched The Whale and when I watched I cried at Interstellar. I don't
cry during The Whale.
What do you mean?
I shed a tear for watching that movie.
It's an emotional movie. All right, so nothing too dreadful. Like, you don't want to be in a foul bummer mood. As much as I like The Dark and the Wicked, you're not watching that on an airplane. Nothing too bloody.
You want Dan Ives, not Jeffrey Gunlock, on a movie.
Yes, perfectly said. Nothing too bloody. So probably not Django or Inglourious Bastards or Aliens or anything like that. You can watch a comedy. But you can watch like Along Came Polly, okay? You can't watch something that's like too funny where you're like belly laughing.
You thought very deeply about this. You have a lot of rules.
There are rules.
All right.
Nothing too funny where you're laughing and people are looking at you. You can't do that. Nothing. Okay, I did that. Okay, all right. So with that, the movies that I watch, it depends on where you're headed. If you're going to the Bahamas, which Future Proof might or might not be doing, you're going to want to...
There's more caveats in this than one of my blog posts.
You're going to want to watch Couples of Treat. Is it a good movie? Not really, but it's a great airplane movie. All right, so here's
travel movies get a premium.
Absolutely. Up in the Air? Are you kidding me?
Well, that's the greatest airplane movie of all time. Spoiler alert.
We agree with that. Up in the Air is... So I watched No, I didn't. I watched The Descendants, another George Clooney classic. I watched The Descendants on my flight home from my honeymoon. Is that on your list? Or does it make...
That's a good one.
Does it meet the criteria?
It does. It's in Hawaii.
All right, what else do I have? Arrival. Like, dramas are good. Drama sci-fis are good. That's a Denis Villeneuve one. What do you think?
That's not a bad one, yeah.
Matchstick Men. Show of hands, who've seen Matchstick Men? Okay, exactly. Like 8% of you, highly underrated. Ridley Scott, Nicolas Cage.
Cage before he went completely off the rails.
Yeah, watch it on your flight. That's a Michael Batnick guarantee. You'll love that movie. Here's another good one. Focus. I saw it once on the airplane. Nobody's heard of it. It's not that great, but it's with Will Smith and Margot Robbie. And it's very forgettable, but it's also a very good airplane movie. Limitless.
Yeah, that's a good one. I agree.
All right, Office Space. It's funny, but not too funny. You've seen it a million times. Ha ha ha. You can answer emails while you watch it.
What do you mean not too funny? It's very funny.
It's very funny.
That was on my list.
The Beekeeper. You can't go wrong there. The Meg, terrible movie, great for airplanes. Have I left you with some good, solid recommendations? Not those movies specifically, but those are the types of movies. I'm a people person. Those are the type of movies that you want to watch on the flight home.
All right, I have a future-proof list.
Oh, I love it.
So I did.
Wait, can we have a beer? Duncan, John, thank you.
So I did movies with Third Eye Blind songs in them.
Wow. Hold on. Come on.
I graduated college in the year 2000, so if you think I'm not going to be singing Semi-Charmed Kind of Life at the top of my lungs after 5 beers tonight, you don't know me. All right.
Hold on, Ben. Can we do a selfie with the audience? Ben just groaned.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, John.
So I'm going to do a lot of 90s movies, obviously, because that's when they were big. A lot of people don't know this. Third Eye Blind had a song in American Pie. New Girl, it's called. I used to own the soundtrack.
Wait a minute. Sing it. I don't know that one.
I can't sing it. I don't know. I used to own the soundtrack. American Pie. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, based on East Grand Rapids High School. That's where the guys who wrote it were from.
Did not age well.
Did to me. Another one, Can't Hardly Wait, has the song Graduate, which I hope they play tonight. Kicks in right when the movie starts, kind of. Plus One was a wedding rom-com that someone actually recommended to us. And,
Plus One is a
Spirits
movie?
listener. Remember the guy? It's Dennis Quaid's son.
Oh, I love that guy. He's
And
in
Maya
These Are the
Erskine,
Boys.
who's in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's a wedding movie, and they're taking a shuttle to a wedding. They sing Semi-Charmed Kind of Life on there.
What else is Semi-Charmed Kind of Life in?
I'm sure that song's in a lot of movies. That's all I could think of. Here's the movies I came up with on my Delta flight.
It's a list on a list? Okay. You know, I'm a Delta flyer. I don't know if anybody else had this experience. The movie selection was a little underwhelming on the way here, no?
Netflix should be on airplanes. Here's the 10 movies I picked on the Delta flight. 10 things I hate about you.
Don't go too fast. I want to soak it in.
A lot of 90s movies.
10 things I hate about you.
I'm in my 40s. Nostalgia's big. Anyone But You. That's my guy, Glenn Powell.
Very good.
Catch Me If You Can.
Classic. Yeah, that is an elite airplane movie.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yep.
At Brad Pitt. Notting Hill.
Oh.
Good rom-com. Parasite. I'm breaking your rules. Parasite, even though it has
What does it
subtitles.
have? Oh, okay.
Duncan likes that one. I had Office Space. I had Talented Mr. Ripley, Italian Countryside, Varsity Blues, which I watched, it's very 90s movie. And then Enemy of the State was Will Smith.
That's a good one.
All right.
Gene Hackman. All right. What do we think? Was that fun? Listen, we have the best audience in the world. Send us an email.
Well, one of the reasons that I think we didn't run out of content, obviously the more we did this show, the more we read and talked about, but our audience got the stuff that we were into. And every time we'd talk about something more than once, people would send us emails. Hey, did you see this story? Hey,
You guys get us. Did you see this Mudroom in Architectural Digest? Yes,
Yes.
I did.
Yeah, so we get so much feedback from our audience into our inbox that it helps us get more content and keep going. And we shoved it in Josh's face.
Amen, we did. All right, so thank you, Chris. Cheers to you. All right, we love you guys. We're going to go in the ocean after this for a dip if anybody wants to join us. Animal Spirits at thecompoundnews.com. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. We love you guys. Oh, we've got shirts. Thank you, Nicole. What do we got?
Lots of shirts.
Yep.
We got the shirt cannon before, and it takes way too. It's like a Civil War musket. Reloading it.
Let's make some noise. It's quiet.
I just can't believe Michael's on stage with those feet. He's got the longest toes I've ever seen.
I got a pedicure before the conference.
One more. Thanks, everyone. See you tonight.